Lisa Green had spent 20 years studying alien biology, but nothing could have prepared her for this moment. She stood in the gleaming reception chamber of the Earth ship Horizon, watching as the airlock cycled open to reveal their visitors. The aliens were finally here, and they were nothing like the scientists had imagined. The first Vaxari to step through the doorway had to duck to avoid hitting its head. It stood nearly 8 feet tall with a slender body covered in blue-green scales that shimmered like oil on water. 4 amber eyes were arranged in a diamond pattern on its face, all blinking at different times as they adjusted to the human lighting. Its arms were too long for its body, ending in 7-fingered hands with retractable claws. Lisa forced herself to breathe normally. As lead xenobiologist for the first contact team, she couldn't show fear. Behind her stood Captain John Miller and 5 other crew members, all chosen for this historic meeting. "Welcome aboard the Horizon," Lisa said clearly, using the greeting they had rehearsed. "I am Dr. Lisa Green, representing Earth's United Scientific Council." The tall alien tilted its head, studying her with those unnerving eyes. A small device on its chest glowed, then produced a voice that sounded almost human. "I am Nexara, ambassador of the Vaxari Dominion. Your world has gained our attention." The translator made the alien's voice sound female, though Lisa knew making such gender distinctions was probably meaningless. 3 more Vaxari entered behind Nexara, each carrying objects that might have been weapons or scientific tools. Captain Miller stepped forward. "I'm Captain John Miller of Earth's United Defense Force. We're honored to establish peaceful relations with your people." Miller was a veteran of the Mars colonies conflict. His weathered face remained calm as he offered his hand in the traditional Earth greeting. The Vaxari had been sent information about human customs weeks ago, when their ships first appeared at the edge of the solar system. Nexara looked at Miller's outstretched hand, but made no move to take it. "Your species is unusual," she said instead. "You have developed quickly, yet remain trapped in one system." Miller lowered his hand smoothly, as if he had never intended a handshake. "We've only achieved faster-than-light travel in the last decade. Our test flight that crossed into your territory was unintentional. Yes, that crossing is why we are here." Nexara turned to one of her companions, who handed her a tablet-like device. "We have studied your broadcasts, your history, your wars." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. The aliens had been watching Earth long before humans knew they existed. "We have much to learn from each other," Lisa said, trying to steer the conversation toward scientific exchange. Nexara's upper eyes narrowed while her lower ones remained fixed on Lisa. "Perhaps, though the learning may not be equal." The reception room fell silent. The implied insult, or perhaps just alien bluntness, hung in the air. Captain Miller broke the tension. "We've prepared quarters for your delegation. We hope you'll join us for a formal dinner where our leaders can speak via video link." "Acceptable," Nexara said. She gestured to her companions. "These are my advisors. They will require access to your biological databases." Lisa smiled tightly. "Of course. I'd be happy to show them our facilities." As Lisa led 2 of the Vaxari toward the science bay, she couldn't help noticing how the crew members they passed pressed themselves against walls to avoid contact with the aliens. Fear was a natural response, but Lisa worried it sent the wrong message. In the lab, the Vaxari moved with surprising grace for their size. They examined the equipment with 4-eyed focus, occasionally making clicking sounds to each other that the translators didn't pick up. "Your technology is functional," one of them said. The translator made this Vaxari sound male. "Basic, but functional." Lisa kept her smile in place. "We're advancing quickly. Our faster-than-light drive was considered impossible just 20 years ago." "Yes. The probability calculations suggested your species would destroy yourselves before achieving interstellar travel." The Vaxari tapped at a microscope. "You have defied prediction." Lisa wasn't sure if that was a compliment or not. "Humans often do." The alien turned all 4 eyes toward her. "Is that why you survived the climate wars? And the biological terrorism era?" And the artificial intelligence rebellion? Lisa felt her heart beat faster. They knew everything. Humanity's darkest moments. The times when extinction had seemed certain. We adapt, she said simply. It's what humans do best. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. The Vaxari adapt by conquest. 12 systems now serve the Dominion. Before Lisa could respond, her communication device buzzed. Captain. Miller's voice came through, tense and controlled. Dr. Green, please bring our guest to conference room 1 immediately. Something had changed. Lisa could hear it in Miller's voice. Of course, Captain, we're on our way. She turned to the Vaxari. If you'll follow me, please. The aliens exchanged looks but followed without comment. As they walked through the corridors, Lisa noticed more security personnel had appeared, standing at attention at each junction. Something was very wrong. The conference room doors slid open to reveal Captain Miller standing beside a large display screen. His face was grim. President Karen Whitman's image filled the screen, her expression equally serious. Ambassador Nexara, the president said as the Vaxari entered. I believe we need to address the fleet movements your people have initiated. Nexara showed no surprise. Precautionary positioning only, President Whitman. 20 warships moving. Toward Mars is more than precautionary, Miller said, his voice hard. Lisa looked between them, confused. No one had told her about warships. Nexara's mandibles clicked. The Vaxari Dominion offers protection to all worlds under our influence. Your planet will soon be among them. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Earth is a sovereign world, President Whitman said carefully. We seek friendship, not protection. An admirable sentiment, Nexara replied. However, the Dominion's expansion is not negotiable. Peace is conditional upon submission. Your resources will be cataloged. Your population will be managed. Lisa's scientific mind raced to understand the implications. You mean conquest, she said before she could stop herself. All 4 of Nexara's eyes turned to her. We mean survival, yours and ours. The galaxy is older and more dangerous than your people understand. Isolated worlds do not last. Captain Miller's hand had moved closer to his sidearm. And if we decline your protection, then you will serve. As an example instead. Nexara's translator couldn't quite capture the emotionless certainty in her voice, but the meaning was clear. Your species has 1 week to decide. Accept Vaxari authority or face extinction. President Whitman's image showed her exchanging glances with unseen advisors. Ambassador, surely we can discuss 1 week, Nexara repeated, turning toward the door. We will return to our ship now. When we next meet, it will be to accept your surrender or to begin your end. As the Vaxari delegation left, escorted by tense security officers, Lisa found herself alone with Captain Miller in the president's video feed. Is this really happening? Lisa asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Miller's face was stone. Orbital defenses are being activated, but if those ships are as advanced as they appear, begin emergency preparations, President Whitman ordered. Dr. Green, we need everything you've learned about their biology. Captain Miller, assemble your best tactical team. Yes, Madam President, they answered in unison. After the call ended, Lisa looked at Miller. They've conquered 12 systems. What can we possibly do against that? Miller's eyes were cold but determined. Whatever we have to. Humanity didn't survive this long just to surrender to the first bully that shows up. Outside the viewports, Earth glowed blue and peaceful, unaware that in 7 days everything might change forever. 6 days had passed since the Vaxari ultimatum. In the underground command center beneath New Geneva, world leaders and military commanders sat around a massive table, faces grim as they considered their limited options. Screens along the walls showed the Vaxari fleet positioned just beyond Mars, 20 massive ships that dwarfed anything Earth had built. Lisa Green stood at the front of the room, her presentation concluding. Dark circles under her eyes showed she had barely slept. To summarize what we know about the Vaxari, she said, pointing to the biological diagrams behind her. They are a hive-minded species with strong central authority. Their technology is approximately 200 years ahead of ours. Based on the data we've gathered, they have conquered at least 12 other civilizations, using them for resources and possibly genetic material. President Karen Whitman rubbed her temples. And our defensive capabilities? Defense Secretary Eric Voss stood. Madam President, we've activated all orbital platforms and armed every ship we have. But the truth is, if their weapons are as advanced as their propulsion systems, we wouldn't last a day. Captain John Miller, sitting quietly at the end of the table, leaned forward. We don't need to win a conventional war. We just need to make invasion too costly for them to consider. Explain, the president said. Miller brought up images of the 5 prototype ships that had been hidden in the asteroid belt. Project Firewall. 5 vessels equipped with our new shield technology and experimental weapons. Not enough to win, but enough to bloody their nose. The room filled with murmurs. Project Firewall was supposed to be top secret. That's a suicide mission, said General Howard Peters. Those prototypes are still untested in real combat. Better than surrender, Miller replied evenly. Lisa watched the military minds debate strategies that might delay defeat by hours rather than prevent it entirely. Her attention was drawn to Dr. Alan Moore, sitting silently across the table. The physicist had dark circles under his eyes that matched her own, and he had been typing constantly on his tablet throughout the meeting. Dr. Moore, Lisa said, interrupting the debate. You've been quiet. Any insights from your team? All eyes turned to Moore. As the creator of Earth's faster-than-light drive, he commanded respect even among military leaders. Moore cleared his throat. I've been analyzing the scans we took of their ships during the initial contact. He tapped his tablet, and new images appeared on the main screen. Their technology isn't just advanced, it's different. They use quantum entanglement for their communications and navigation systems. What does that mean for us? President Whitman asked. It means, Moore said slowly, that they have a vulnerability we might exploit. Their entire fleet operates as a network. If we could disrupt their quantum communications, we could potentially blind them temporarily. Captain Miller leaned forward. How temporarily? Minutes, maybe. Not long enough to destroy their fleet, but possibly long enough to demonstrate that we can hurt them. Moore adjusted his glasses. The problem is we'd need access to their central command chip to upload the disruption program directly. Their encryption makes remote hacking impossible. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. A small team, Miller said, finally. Posing as negotiators for our surrender, we could get aboard their command ship. That would be a one-way mission, General Peters warned. Even if you succeeded, you'd never get off that ship alive. Miller's face showed no fear. If it gives Earth a fighting chance, it's worth it. President Whitman shook her head. I can't order anyone to take on such a mission. You don't have to order it, Madam President. Miller stood straighter. I volunteer. Lisa surprised herself by speaking up. I'll go too. I know more about their biology than anyone else. If something goes wrong, that knowledge might help. One by one, others volunteered. Communications Officer Steve Rogers, Lieutenant Diane, Curtis, and Security Chief Paul Bennett. Dr. Moore would stay behind to coordinate the technical aspects from Earth. Very well, President Whitman said after a long pause. Prepare your team, Captain. But understand this. If there's any way to resolve this peacefully, we take it. This plan is our last resort. As the meeting broke up, Lisa approached Dr. Moore. Will this really work? She asked quietly. Moore handed her a small metallic cube. This quantum drive contains the program. It needs to be connected directly to their main computer core. If it works, it will disrupt their entire network for approximately 6 minutes. And what do we do with those 6 minutes? She asked. That, Moore said grimly, is up to Captain Miller and the military. My job was to create the window of opportunity. What they do with it is beyond my expertise. Lisa slipped the cube into her pocket. 6 minutes to save humanity, she whispered. It's more time than we had yesterday, Moore replied. Later that night, Captain Miller gathered his small team in a secure room aboard the Horizon. The ship had been chosen for the mission because the Vaxari had already been aboard it and scanned it for weapons. Our cover story is simple, Miller explained. We are bringing terms of Earth's surrender. The Vaxari are arrogant enough to believe we've given up. Steve Rogers checked his communication equipment. How do we find their computer core? Miller nodded to Lisa. Dr. Green has studied the scans we took during their visit. The Vaxari ships are partly organic, which actually makes their layout more predictable than you might think. Lisa brought up a holographic model of the Vaxari flagship. Their computer core should be here, near the center of the ship. It's their equivalent of a brain. The challenge will be getting access. Diane Curtis, the youngest member of the team, looked nervous but determined. And if we're caught? Then Earth fights anyway, Miller said simply. But without our ace in the hole. Paul Bennett, the security chief, checked his concealed weapons. They had designed special composite blades that should pass the Vaxari scanners. How much resistance should we expect inside? Unknown, Miller admitted. Their crew numbers could be anywhere from 50 to 500. We know they use other species as workers, so not everyone aboard will be Vaxari. The team spent the next hours memorizing ship layouts and practicing their roles. Lisa found her hands trembling as she packed her medical kit. Not from fear for herself, but from the weight of responsibility. If they failed, Earth would likely fall. As dawn broke, they boarded the shuttle that would take them to the Horizon. The plan called for them to depart for the Vaxari flagship at exactly noon, the deadline the aliens had set for Earth's answer. President Whitman met them at the shuttle bay, her face solemn. The hopes of humanity go with you, she told them. Whatever happens, history will remember your courage. Miller saluted sharply. We won't let you down, Madam President. As they boarded the shuttle, Lisa found herself seated next to Miller. Captain, she said quietly, what do you think our real chances are? Miller's eyes were steady as he looked at her. Dr. Green, in all of human history, we've never faced extinction without fighting back. I don't intend for us to start now. The shuttle doors closed and they were on their way to face humanity's greatest challenge. The Earth shuttle approached the massive Vaxari flagship with its lights dimmed to show submission. Inside, Lisa Green felt her heart racing as Captain Miller repeated their final instructions. Remember, we need 30 minutes to reach the computer core once we're aboard, Miller said, his voice low and steady. Our official purpose is to deliver Earth's surrender terms. Dr. Moore's program needs to be uploaded directly to disrupt their quantum network. Lisa touched the hidden pocket where the small quantum drive was concealed. The device felt heavier than its actual weight, carrying the hopes of their entire planet. And if we're caught? Lieutenant Diane Curtis asked, her young face showing the strain of their mission. Then Earth fights without our help, Miller answered simply. But we've trained for this. Stay calm, follow the plan, and we have a chance. Communications Officer Steve Rogers adjusted his uniform. They were all dressed in formal diplomatic attire with Earth's unified government insignia. The Vaxari. Scanner technology will detect any standard weapons. Our only advantages are surprise and the items Dr. Moore designed to avoid detection. Security Chief Paul Bennett touched the thin composite blade hidden in his sleeve. Let's hope we don't need to use them. The shuttle communication system crackled. Earth vessel, maintain current approach vector. Docking protocols initiated. The translated Vaxari voice sounded mechanical and cold. Miller looked at each team member. This is humanity's moment. Make it count. When they docked with the enormous alien ship, the difference in scale became even more apparent. The Vaxari vessel was nearly 2 miles long, dwarfing anything humans had built in space. The docking bay alone could have held 10 Earth shuttles. As the airlock cycled open, Ambassador Nixara stood waiting with 4 armed guards. The tall Vaxari scales seemed to shimmer more vibrantly under the ship's lighting. Captain Miller, Nixara said, her translator making the clicks and hisses of her language sound almost pleasant. Your presence here suggests wisdom has prevailed among your leaders. Miller stepped forward with practiced humility. Ambassador, we bring Earth's response to your terms. President Whitman has requested we discuss the details of our integration into the Dominion. Nexara's four eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture Lisa had learned indicated satisfaction. I am pleased your species values survival over pride. Many do not show such pragmatism until after demonstrations of our power. We're practical people, Miller replied, his face neutral. Why sacrifice lives unnecessarily? Indeed. Nexara turned. Follow me to the diplomatic chamber. The High Command wishes to witness Earth's submission. As they walked through the vast corridors of the alien ship, Lisa cataloged every detail. The walls pulsed with faint light, suggesting the vessel was partly organic as their scans had indicated. Various alien species moved about, some humanoid, others utterly foreign in shape, all working in silent efficiency. Your vessel is impressive, Lisa said, attempting to maintain their cover while gathering information. How many crew members serve aboard? This ship houses 6,000 beings from 22 species, Nexara replied with obvious pride. Most are workers from worlds that have benefited from Vaxari protection for generations. Protected worlds, Lisa thought, a polite term for conquered planets. They entered a vast chamber with curved walls displaying star maps. Several other Vaxari waited there, their scales showing subtle color variations that Lisa guessed indicated rank or function. The Earth delegation, Nexara announced. They have brought their surrender terms. The largest Vaxari stepped forward. I am Fleet Commander Zarek. Your timing is fortunate. My patience with your world was nearing its end. Miller bowed slightly. Commander, we appreciate your restraint. Earth recognizes the futility of resistance against your superior forces. Wise, Zarek said. Many species require demonstrations before accepting inevitability. The last world that resisted now serves as an asteroid mining colony. Their continents were quite useful once we removed the troublesome population. Lisa felt a chill run through her body, but maintained her diplomatic smile. Miller presented a data tablet. Our proposed terms for integration. President Whitman has requested certain accommodations during the transition period. As the Vaxari leaders examined the document, Rogers discreetly pressed a small device in his pocket. Back on Earth, Dr. Moore would be receiving his signal and initiating the next phase of their plan. 3 minutes later, alarms blared throughout the ship. The Vaxari commanders straightened, their scales rippling with color changes. What is happening? Zarek demanded to a subordinate who rushed into the room. Reactor fluctuation in Section 7, the subordinate reported. Possible containment issue. Zarek turned to Nexara. Oversee the Earth delegation. I must attend to this. With most of the Vaxari leaders, he left the chamber quickly. Remain here, Nexara instructed them, her attention divided. This should be resolved shortly. When another alarm sounded in a different section, Nexara's scales darkened with concern. I must check the status. Do not leave this room. She hurried out, leaving only one guard at the door. The moment she was gone, Miller nodded to Bennett. The security chief moved with surprising speed, approaching the remaining guard with a question about the ship's emergency protocols. As the alien turned to respond, Bennett pressed a small device against its neck. The guard slumped to the floor, unconscious but alive. Dr. Moore's neural disruptor works, Bennett confirmed. We have maybe 15 minutes before it wakes up. Miller turned to the team. Rogers, Curtis, secure the door. Bennett, stand watch. Dr. Green and I will access their system. Lisa and Miller hurried to the command console at the center of the room. Lisa's hands moved across the alien interface, applying patterns she had memorized from Earth's analysis of Vaxari technology. The computer core is 3 levels down, she whispered. But I might be able to access a terminal from here. Miller watched the door. Try. We're running out of time. Lisa's fingers flew across the strange controls. Years of studying xenobiology had given her insights into how the Vaxari organized information. I'm in their navigation system, she reported. Let me see if I can... The screen changed, displaying schematics of the ship. There, she pointed, a direct access point to their quantum network. It's only 2 corridors away. Miller made a quick decision. Change of plans. Rogers, Curtis, stay here and maintain our cover story if they return. Dr. Green, Bennett, with me. The three of them slipped out of the diplomatic chamber, following Lisa's directions through the curving corridors. Twice they had to hide as aliens rushed past, responding to the manufactured emergency in the reactor section. Here, Lisa pointed to a recessed doorway. This should be a direct access terminal to their main computer core. Bennett kept watch while Lisa and Miller entered the small room. Inside, pulsing organic technology merged with mechanical components, in ways that made human computer systems look primitive by comparison. Lisa pulled out the quantum drive. This needs to interface directly with their system. She studied the alien technology, searching for a connection point. Hurry, Miller urged. Those distractions won't last much longer. Lisa's hands trembled slightly as she found what looked like an input port. Here goes everything, she whispered, inserting the drive. The alien system pulsed with new patterns of light as Dr. Moore's program began uploading. Data flowed across the screens, star charts, battle plans, and biological assessments of dozens of species, including humans. It's working, Lisa breathed. And look at this, they've been studying us for centuries. Miller leaned closer. What is that file? Lisa opened a folder labeled in Vaxari script that translated roughly to Human Threat Assessment. Inside were videos of human warfare throughout history, ancient battles, world wars, nuclear tests, and the Mars conflicts. They've been watching everything, Lisa said. Not just our technology, but our capacity for violence. The upload completed with a soft chime. It's done, Lisa confirmed. Dr. Moore's program is in their system. As they turned to leave, the door slid open. Ambassador Nexara stood there, her four eyes widening at the sight of them. Step away from the terminal, she commanded, raising a weapon that hummed with energy. Miller moved with surprising speed, positioning himself between the alien and Lisa. It's too late, he said calmly. It's already done. Nexara's head tilted in confusion. What have you done? Miller's face showed no fear as he answered. We've changed the terms of negotiation. Nexara's weapon remained pointed at Miller's chest. The energy emitter glowed with a blue light that cast eerie shadows across the small computer room. What have you done to our systems? She demanded, her four eyes fixed on the humans. Miller didn't flinch. Insurance policy. Behind him, Lisa watched the alien screens continue to process data as Dr. Moore's program spread through their network. The quantum drive was still connected, its small lights blinking rapidly. Captain, Lisa said quietly, it's still transmitting. Nexara stepped forward, her tall frame making the room feel even smaller. Remove the device immediately or I will be forced to eliminate you. Security Chief Bennett moved to flank Miller, his hand near the hidden blade in his sleeve. Miller gave him a slight shake of the head. Not yet. Ambassador, Miller said calmly. Killing us won't stop what's happening. The program is already running. Explain, Nexara demanded, or the guard outside this room will summon security teams to execute all your people. Miller nodded slowly. Fair enough. What we've uploaded isn't a weapon in the traditional sense, it's an information package. Lisa took a step forward, careful to stay behind Miller. Your leaders have been filtering what your people know about humans. We've just corrected that oversight. Nexara's scales rippled with color, a sign of agitation Lisa had learned to recognize. You speak nonsense. The Vaxari Dominion shares all relevant data with its people. Relevant according to whom? Miller asked. Your high command has been selective about what they tell your fleet about us. They've hidden your own intelligence assessments. The alien's head tilted. What assessments? Lisa gestured to the screen, where videos of human history were still displaying. These your own studies of human conflict and resilience. The complete, unfiltered history of our species, understanding dawned in Nexara's eyes. You've transmitted our classified files on human warfare to the entire fleet. Every ship, every crew member, Miller confirmed. Right now, they're learning what happens when humans are backed into a corner. Nexara lowered her weapon slightly, more from confusion than surrender. This accomplishes nothing. You remain technologically inferior. True, Miller acknowledged. But now your people understand what that means and what it doesn't mean. The alien commander seemed to be processing this new development, her scales shifting through colors. You will be detained while the High Command assesses this situation. She raised her communicator to summon guards. Before she could activate, its alarms blared again. But different from before. These were sharper, more urgent. A voice came over the ship's communication system, speaking in the Vaxari language. Lisa couldn't understand the words, but Nexara's reaction made the message clear. Something had gone very wrong. "What else have you done?" Nexara demanded, her weapon raising again. Miller looked genuinely confused. "Nothing. That's not us." The door slid open and a Vaxari crew member rushed in, speaking rapidly to Nexara. She responded with sharp clicks and hisses before turning back to the humans. "Your people have launched an attack," she said, her voice cold through the translator. "5 ships are engaging our outer fleet." Miller's expression changed from confusion to determination. "Project Firewall. They weren't supposed to launch until we transmitted the signal." Lisa realized immediately what had happened. The upload worked both ways. When we connected to their network, they detected our position aboard the flagship. "The attack is suicide," Nexara said. "Your vessels cannot hope to defeat our fleet." "They don't need to win," Miller replied. "They just need to show you what fighting humans really means." Nexara gestured with her weapon. "You will come with me to the command center. Now." They had no choice but to follow as Nexara led them through corridors now filled with rushing crew members. Guards fell in behind them, weapons ready. When they reached the massive bridge of the flagship, the scene was one of controlled chaos. A huge display showed the space around Mars. 5 small Earth ships, sleek and black, were engaged with the Vaxari fleet. Despite being outnumbered 4-1, the Earth vessels were moving with incredible speed, their experimental shields flaring as they absorbed enemy fire. Fleet Commander Zarek stood at the center of the bridge, issuing commands. He turned as Nexara brought in the prisoners. "The humans have initiated hostilities," Zarek said, his scales dark with anger. "And they have compromised our information security. Their program has transmitted restricted files to all ships in the fleet," Nexara confirmed. Zarek's 4 eyes narrowed as he looked at Miller. "A futile gesture. Your attack ships will be destroyed, and then we will proceed with the punishment of Earth." Miller looked at the display where one of the Earth ships had just scored a direct hit on a Vaxari vessel, causing visible damage. "I wouldn't be so sure about that. Those ships are equipped with technology we've been developing in secret." "Primitive technology," Zarek dismissed. "Even with your element of surprise, the outcome is inevitable." As they watched, the Earth ships executed a complex maneuver, drawing 3 Vaxari cruisers into a crossfire between them. One of the alien ships lost power to its engines, drifting out of formation. "Impressive for primitives, wouldn't you say?" Miller commented. Zarek ignored him, issuing more commands to his fleet. The Vaxari ships began to adjust their tactics, moving to surround the Earth vessels. Lisa's attention was drawn to other screens around the bridge. Many showed interior views of other Vaxari ships, where crew members were gathered around displays, watching the uncensored history of human warfare that Dr. Moore's program had unleashed. "Your plan will fail," Zarek stated flatly. "Your ships will be destroyed. Your planet will be cleansed. The files you've shared will be purged." "You can erase the files," Miller said quietly, "but you can't erase what they've learned about us." Zarek turned to face him fully. "And what is that, human?" "That we don't surrender, even when we should. That we fight hardest when victory is impossible." A junior officer approached Zarek, reporting something in their native language. The commander's scales changed color abruptly. "What's happening?" Lisa whispered to Miller. Miller watched the displays intently. "I think our ships just demonstrated the other part of Project Firewall." On the main screen, one of the Earth vessels had taken critical damage, Instead of retreating, it accelerated directly toward the nearest Vaxari cruiser. The impact was followed by an explosion that engulfed both ships. "The fool," Nyxara breathed. "They sacrificed themselves for nothing." "Not for nothing," Miller corrected. "For Earth. And they just took one of your most powerful ships with them." Zarak studied Miller with a new intensity. "Your people choose death over surrender." "Why?" "Because surrender guarantees extinction," Miller replied. "Fighting at least offers a chance, however small." Another communication came in, this time displayed for all to see. It showed President Whitman, her face resolute. "Vaxari Command," she said formally. "You now understand what fighting humanity means. We have more ships ready to launch, each carrying weapons capable of destroying your vessels at the cost of their own. We did not want this conflict, but we will not hesitate to ensure mutual destruction if forced." Zarak seemed unmoved. "Threats from a position of weakness are meaningless." "Not threats," Whitman corrected. "Facts. Your own intelligence now available to your entire fleet shows our history. Humans do not surrender when faced with extinction. We ensure our enemies remember us." The bridge fell silent as everyone watched the battle continue. 2 more Earth ships were damaged but had taken another Vaxari vessel with them. Zarak turned. To Miller, his alien features unreadable. "Your species puzzles me, Captain. Your deaths are certain. Your civilization faces extinction. Yet I detect no fear in you. Why aren't you afraid, human?" The Vaxari command bridge fell silent. All 4 of Commander Zarek's eyes focused on Captain Miller, waiting for his answer. The battle continued on the screens around them, Earth ships fighting with desperate courage against overwhelming odds. Miller met the alien commander's gaze steadily. "You ask why I'm not afraid?" His voice was calm, almost conversational. "Because fear doesn't keep you alive. Adaptation does." Zarek's head tilted slightly. "Explain." "Humanity has faced extinction many times. By our own hand, by nature, by circumstance. We survived not because we were strongest, but because we changed. We learned, we evolved." Miller gestured to the screens showing human history. "Your species conquers through superior technology. Ours survives through relentless innovation when faced with destruction." Lisa watched the alien commanders exchange glances. For the first time, she sensed uncertainty in their posture. "You would still lose a direct conflict," Zarek stated flatly. "Probably," Miller agreed, "but we'd ensure winning wasn't worth the cost." The quantum drive they had planted continued to transmit data throughout the Vaxari fleet. On secondary screens, Lisa could see alien crew members on other ships watching footage of human wars, human resilience, human determination. "The program we uploaded," Lisa added, "showed your entire fleet what your leaders have hidden. What happens when humans are cornered?" Nyxara stepped forward. "This changes nothing. We have conquered 12 systems, all eventually submitted." "Were any of those species like us?" Miller asked. "Did any of them have our particular history? Our specific evolution?" Before Zarek could answer, another communication came through from Earth. Dr. Moore's face appeared on screen, his expression grim but determined. "Captain Miller, the quantum link is stable. All Vaxari ships are receiving our transmission. Project Firewall ships report they've engaged the enemy and deployed Phase 2. Miller nodded. "Thank you, Doctor." Zarak's scales rippled with color. "What is Phase 2? As if in answer, alarms blared across the bridge. A Vaxari officer reported urgently in their native language. "Translation?" Miller requested. Nyxara's voice was tight. 3 of our ships report their navigation systems are failing. Their quantum entanglement network is experiencing disruption. Miller nodded. That would be Phase 2. Dr. Moore's program didn't just share information, it created a backdoor into your fleet's quantum network. Right now, Earth is broadcasting a signal that's scrambling your ship's ability to coordinate. On the main screen, the effect was becoming visible. Several Vaxari vessels were drifting out of formation, their movements becoming erratic. The Earthships, though damaged, were capitalizing on the confusion, focusing their attacks on key targets. "This is temporary," Zarek said, though Lisa noticed his confidence seemed to be wavering. "Our systems will adapt and purge the intrusion." "Of course they will," Miller agreed. "We're not expecting to win today. We're showing you what fighting us would really cost." Lisa stepped closer to Miller. "Commander Zarak, your own intelligence. Reports predict that conquering Earth would cost you at least 20% of your fleet. Is gaining one small planet worth that price?" For the first time, the alien commander seemed to truly consider their position. His scales shifted through colors that Lisa couldn't interpret. Another explosion flashed on the screen as an Earthship rammed a disoriented Vaxari vessel. Both disappeared in a ball of light. "They're targeting our command ships," Nexara observed. "Not our weapons platforms. They're going after our leadership and communication capabilities." Zarek issued a series of commands in the Vaxari language. The bridge officers responded immediately, their movements becoming more urgent. "What did you order?" Miller asked. "A tactical withdrawal to reassess," Zarek replied. "Your people have demonstrated unexpected capabilities." Lisa and Miller exchanged glances. It wasn't victory, but it was a reprieve. President Whitman's face appeared on the communication screen again. "Commander Zarek, I propose an immediate ceasefire and the opening of actual diplomatic negotiations. Not surrender terms, mutual recognition talks." The alien commander was silent for a long moment. "Your proposal will be considered. Until then, we will maintain position beyond your moon's orbit." The transmission ended and Zarek turned to face Miller and Lisa. "You will remain aboard as guarantors of your people's behavior during this pause in hostilities." "Acceptable," Miller agreed readily. Nexara approached them as Zarek moved away to consult with other officers. "I must understand something," she said, her voice quieter now. "Our weapons can destroy your planet. Our ships outnumber yours by hundreds to one. Your deaths would be certain, yet none of you show fear. Why?" Miller smiled. Not the diplomatic smile from first contact, but something older and harder. "Because humans don't fear death, Commander. We fear being forgotten. And I promise you this. If humanity goes extinct, we will ensure the Vaxari remember us until the end of time." Nexara's blood seemed to run cold as the implications set in. The human wasn't threatening revenge. He was promising legacy, and somehow that was infinitely more terrifying than any weapon. Hours later, Lisa and Miller stood at a viewport, watching as the Vaxari fleet slowly pulled back to the agreed position near the moon. Earth's remaining ships had withdrawn as well, though they remained on high alert. Did we just secure peace by threatening to be the most memorable extinction in galactic history? Lisa asked quietly. Miller kept his eyes on the stars. No species survives forever, Dr. Green, but legends never die. Lieutenant Curtis approached them, her young face showing the strain of recent events. Captain, we've received word from Earth. Dr. Moore reports that the quantum disruption worked, better than expected. Almost 40% of the Vaxari fleet experienced navigation failures. That explains Zarak's willingness to withdraw, Miller noted. They're more vulnerable than they let on. There's something else, Curtis added. Signals intelligence has detected unusual communication patterns among the Vaxari ships. It appears some of their crews are questioning their leadership's decisions. Lisa considered this. Our information upload didn't just share human history, it revealed how their commanders have been filtering information. We may have started something we didn't intend. Or exactly what we intended, Miller replied. Doubt is a powerful weapon. A new message came through on their communication devices. President Whitman was requesting an update from their position inside the Vaxari flagship. As Miller responded, Lisa returned her gaze to the viewport. Earth was a small blue dot from this distance, peaceful and seemingly insignificant against the vastness of space. Yet today, that small world had stood against an interstellar empire and earned, if not respect, At least caution. The Vaxari Council has requested formal talks, Miller announced as he finished his communication with Earth. They want to reassess the strategic value of adding humanity to their dominion. Meaning they're not sure we're worth the trouble, Lisa translated. Miller smiled slightly. Exactly. And that, Dr. Green, is how humanity survives. Not by being the strongest, but by making conquest too costly to pursue. As they watched, the Vaxari vessels continued their withdrawal, their lights fading into the distance against the starfield. The immediate threat had passed. Tomorrow would bring negotiations, challenges, and an uncertain future. But humanity would face it unafraid, as they always had. You know, Lisa said thoughtfully, I think I finally understand what you meant about fear and adaptation. How so? Miller asked. The Vaxari conquered through fear. But today we showed them something they don't understand. A species that isn't afraid to lose everything to protect everything. Miller nodded slowly. And that, Dr. Green, is why they're the ones retreating.